The Sum of All Fears on 4K Blu-ray. This is the 20th anniversary edition, and I worked at the movie theater when this came out, and I saw it on 35 millimeter. It is crazy that all the movies that I worked at the theater for and saw on 35 millimeter are now coming out in anniversary editions. So here is another attempt, or I guess the first or third attempt to start a Jack Ryan, Tom Clancy ongoing series. So it seems like they chose Ben Affleck because he was the hotness at this time. And for whatever reason, he wasn't Jack Ryan anymore after this. I thought he did fine. All right, quick intro to me and Tom Clancy. So I've read The Hunt for Red October, and I really, really liked it. And I've seen all the Tom Clancy movies. So Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, this one, The Sum of All Fears, and Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit. And they're all pretty okay. I think Hunt for Red October is absolutely the best Jack Ryan movie, but I think Ben Affleck could have carried on in the series. And actually, I think Chris Pine could have done fine. And I think he's the right actor to play Jack Ryan. So I don't know what the deal is. Like, can they just not get like a movie franchise off the ground? They have to keep changing actors. I don't know. Maybe it's just not successful enough? But they've all been okay. So I think they should actually add a subtitle to the title of this movie. It should be called The Sum of All Fears, ... the Internet. Several times throughout this movie, there are comical scenes of showing how the internet can lead to really bad things, or really bad people use it to do bad things. And there's some ominous close-ups on computers while they are used to do bad things. All right, so a quick note on the Blu-ray versus the 4K here. So on the Blu-ray, there's quite a bit of digital noise, especially when there's smoke or fire or lots of stuff moving. Like in the middle part when the big bad thing happens, there's helicopters and smoke and people running everywhere, and there is digital noise everywhere. And then throughout the movie on the Blu-ray, there is, to me, it looks like digital noise reduction because the film grain looks frozen everywhere. So I felt like on the Blu-ray there was just like a big, those like plastic mats you put on the floor so your office chair can roll around on it? I feel like I'm watching the movie through one of those on the Blu-ray. Like the picture's underneath, but it's just covered in this like digital mess over the top. When you look at the 4K, it's a totally different story. The colors are all clean, there's no digital noise, and the grain seems to be moving. So I actually compared side by side multiple of the same scene multiple times, going back and forth between the 4K and the Blu-ray. And yeah, definitely on the Blu-ray you can see grain just frozen. So the little black speckly things just frozen in place. And on the 4K in those same places, you could see the grain passing by. And that's the actual film grain passing by as it's scanned for this. So the 4K is a huge difference. The colors, and then this has Dolby Vision, so I thought the color just looked correct and natural the whole time. It was probably a little on the darker side, but all the colors just looked really good and correct. And so the first time I saw this was on a pristine 35 millimeter film print, and this looks like that. The colors were all good, the contrast was good, the film grain was moving. This was an awesome restoration if they actually did a restoration. The Blu-ray looks pretty terrible compared to this. So huge upgrade if you're a fan of this movie. I want to say the sound was better on the 4K, like more clear and robust. Like I could hear the voices better through noise, but could that just be because it's the same audio? I'm pretty sure on both. Let me check. Yeah, both the Blu-ray and the 4K say that they have the Dolby True HD 5.1, and I swear the 4K sounds better. So I don't know if that's just me wanting it to sound better because it's 4K, but I heard words more clearly through the chaos in it. But it's probably pretty similar. The audio's fine. It's not really an action movie. Like there's some action, but it's not like a bombastic action movie. 5.1 serves this movie just fine, I thought. So the movie follows two interesting stories, I guess. One is just like post-Cold War America, just modern America. How are we keeping us safe and what's going on? And the other is following a nuke that came off of a ship, airplane in the 70s, and how that is found and bought and sold and used and changed and manipulated and built into a bomb. So it's cool going back and forth between the two stories of what's going on with the US and what's going on with this secret nuclear bomb construction. So look who this is.
I will make inquiries. Dr. Milanov is out sick. Orlov is on vacation.
Right here.
Spassky, I'm grieved to say, was
You recognize that guy?
driving his car to work just this past week.
That is the baddie, one of the baddies from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. He's the one that goes over the cliff in the tank and it flips over, and you see the little miniature of him just getting crunched by the tank turret as it falls apart. Spoiler alert for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Anyway, it was cool to see that guy in here. So here we have some aerial reconnaissance photos of Russian tanks, and they're looking at them,
Tank regiments.
wondering why they haven't moved.
They were too smart to move those tanks.
Talking about tanks, Russian tanks.
Look,
Listen to this.
Russia's got like what, 19,000 tanks? No way NATO can match that. No, that's why he's not gonna move them. It's like a chess game. He's just thinking 3 moves ahead.
You hear that? 19,000 tanks. No way NATO can match that. And that was the thought for a long time. We're like, oh man, they have so many tanks. What are we going to do if we ever go on the ground with them? There's so many tanks. And it's like, well, you know, all their tanks are a problem unless they try to invade their neighbor and run out of fuel. And then their neighbor gets anti-tank weapons sent to them from all over the world. Then I guess all their tanks aren't as much of a problem as post-Cold War, early 2000s world thought they were. So it's pretty surprising watching this movie given current events.
He knows he has so many more tanks than we do. The NATO playbook says the only way we can stop him is using tactical nuclear weapons. And there's no way he wants to risk a nuclear war over this.
Look at that little baby Ben Affleck talking about scary Russian tanks. And that the only way to stop scary Russian tanks is with tactical nukes. But seriously, look at him. Look at this baby Ben Affleck. It's amazing. Okay, so in this scene, we've got Michelle Monaghan, is that her name? We've got Ben Affleck. Exhibit A, his chin, which sticks out really far and has classic Ben Affleck stubble all over it. Then we've got candles burning, swanky, weird music playing. CIA calls, he's got to run outside. But look at Exhibit 2. So he tells her he has to run outside for just a second, and they've been kissing with big Ben Affleck chin scraping all over her chin. So her chin is Exhibit 2. Look at this. Look at that, how red it is. I propose that Exhibit A was all scuffing up into Exhibit 2, and that's why her chin was all red. And I think they just filmed it. They filmed them kissing, they filmed him on the phone, they filmed her being like, oh man, you gotta go out and do CIA stuff. And it's all red, and I think it's all scuffed up from his chin. I think it is. That is I will die on that hill. So then Liev Schreiber, or however you say his last name, gets all sneaky and starts looking around for stuff. So there's a super dark scene while he's sneaking around looking at this bomb making area for a long time, and the 4K holds up like a champ. It looks awesome. The darks are inky. You can see details and everything. Contrast is great. Like, it was really, 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 like, look at all this. Like, it looked great. So this is where 4K really, really shines, is in just super, super dark scenes like this. So just wanted to point out that the dark, sneaky scene looks great. Actually, there's quite a lot of dark scenes in this, and they look great on 4K, of course. All right, then we get true wisdom from this neo-Nazi guy. We learned that fascism was not just a phase, that communism was a fool's errand, and that Hitler was an idiot for fighting America and Russia, and what he should have done was get America and Russia to fight each other, which is what this guy, this neo-Nazi guy, is saying that their goal is. he's also saying that they're going to spread their ideology like a virus and they're going to use the internet. And so it's like really ominous, more ominous scenes being like the internet, it's allowing the spread of neo-Nazism or whatever. So anyway, just once again, the subtitle of this movie, The Sum of All Fears, is the internet. Here's a scene proving it. He says, fascism is like a virus. It needs a strong host to spread. So he talks about Germany being the host, but it wasn't able to thrive there.
Fortunately, the world has changed. Global communications, cable TV, the internet. Today the world is smaller. And the virus does not need a strong host in order.
So he's talking about how the world has changed. And he says, cable TV, the internet. He's talking about how the virus can spread through all these scary, evil, modern things. Early 2000s. Awesome. We survived Y2K, but will we survive the internet? So one thing I liked about this movie versus other like terrorist disaster type movies, spy government movies, is so he's on the trail of this bomb. He's hot on the trail, and it seems like he's always a day behind. So he's trying to figure out what's going to happen, where it's at, who the target is, who's making it, where everybody is. And every step of the way, they're just too late. So they're learning what's happening, but it's happening in front of them. So I think that's a cool way that this movie plays out. And it's actually pretty terrifying because it really makes you imagine how you would feel if this thing happened. All right, so a little bit of a spoiler for something that happens about halfway through the movie that I think the trailer spoiled. But yeah, if you don't want a spoiler, go ahead and skip ahead 30 seconds-ish. Okay, so here we go. You've had your warning. So Jack Ryan's calling the CIA guy, telling him that the bomb is in play. Right? While him and the president are at a football game. Okay, so he's having a hard time hearing it. So it's going back and forth. But this part in the movie is so cool. So once he realizes that the bomb is there in Baltimore and that the president and this football game are definitely a viable target, most likely target, right? Most dangerous course of action. So once he realizes that the bomb is there, the music comes in, and then you're going to see the camera basically start, as he's like looking around at the danger and the destruction that's going to happen, it starts cycling quicker and quicker through pretty much all the people he can't save. And then as he gets the president out of there, it's so cool. But watch this as he figures it out and then the music kicks in. All right here. That, you finally hears him say Baltimore. Low piano music kicks in. He stands up, everyone else sits down. And the music's just escalating. Watch how quick it starts cutting between all these innocent people. Ha ha ha! So then, of course, it's this frantic getting the president out of there. Not anyone else on his cabinet, though. It didn't seem like. It seems like it's just the CIA guy and the president. I don't know if anyone else gets out. I mean, we do see a bunch of them later, but that's so cool how the piano is like this low piano music, and then it's just like, look at all these people are going to die. It's actually really terrifying, but this is a cool scene. All right, so check out this helicopter crash that crashes for a reason that you know if you've seen this. But the thing I really admire about this crash is whatever it is, if it's a model, if it's a real thing, it's a real thing that's getting crunched on the ground. And that's going to bring with it some funniness as well. So check this out. Look at the pilot. There. Right there. You see that? All right, frame by frame. Look at the guy. So not the left side, but the right side guy. Here we go. We're going to move frame by frame. Maybe. There we go. Got it. Okay, watch right there on the right side of the helicopter as it flips back around. You're going to see the guy hanging out of the door. See him? He's got blood on his face, and it's like, oh, dang, that looks rough. And he's like, ah. And he bonks his head right there and then stays there. Anyway, it's totally a dummy. And you can see his little hand. Like the little, like the little dummy hand that's like that. Anyway, so it's cool that it's an actual helicopter, like crunching, or an actual some physical object that's crunching and rolling. And then you see this guy hanging out of it, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is that? And then you look closer, and you're like, hey, it's a dummy. But I still applaud him for using practical effects. This movie obviously has some special effects for a very large explosion and some other explosions and missiles and jets and stuff like that. But they use practical effects. Who does that now? All right, I really appreciate this part. So these Marines are getting back on their helicopter after doing their thing. And watch this. Guy sits down. And rifle down. Rifle always down on helicopter. Good. So I always like when movies have little details like that accurate. So rifle pointing down in helicopter. How do you take a email scene and make it more exciting? Put fire in it. Look at... Oh my gosh, can't read that. There you go. The Andy died by texting while driving. Look at the CIA doing sneaky computer stuff. Look at this. Look at this ominous shot on this IBM tower. Get a little closer. You hear the sound? It emphasizes the the hard drive writing sound on traditional hard drives. You remember that? I don't know if you remember that, but they zoom in on the hard drive working but light, and then you just hear like near. Anyway, this movie is there's a lot of parts where it's like the internet. All right, so a few things about this movie. So we learn that according to his new girlfriend in the movie, she's talking to her friends at work about how hot her boyfriend is. We learn they want to get a scale out of 10. We learn that this guy right here is a 12 out of 10. This guy. Boop. I would say early 2000s Ben Affleck is like an 8. Another thing I really like about this movie is watching leaders of nations work together to avoid disaster. It was really refreshing. I know the leader of Russia in this movie did some evil chemical weapon stuff, but you almost wonder if we had this leader nowadays, if we would have avoided a lot of the stupidity that's going on right now in Europe. But yeah, it was like kind of uplifting to watch world leaders like rationally dealing with each other. It's like, hey, we're never going to become Star Trek if we can't rationally deal with each other here on Earth. I'm just saying. All right, overall, The Sum of All Fears was awesome on 4K. It remains a pretty good movie that is more relevant now than ever, just with world events. I don't even see that, okay? You see that? There you go. Yeah, it just remains more relevant than ever with world events. And it's a good Tom Clancy yarn. It's not the best of the Tom Clancy movies that goes to The Hunt for Red October. But it's a good time. And it's usually on sale for I think this was like $5.99 or something. So I will be retiring my DVD of this and then never watching the Blu-ray of this because the Blu-ray is awful on here. Anyway, if you like this movie or these kinds of movies, this is a really great 4K that looks like a 35mm film. So thanks for watching. This is way too long of a video for this movie, and thank you for sticking with me. Liev Schreiber and Morgan Freeman and James Cromwell also did amazing in this. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of these kind of movies or Tom Clancy books or movies in general. But yeah, 20-minute Sum of All Fears video. You're welcome, the internet. The sum of all our fears.